Well, you know, I feel really good about knowing what each guy brings, and hey, there's a reason Paul George is Paul George. You know, I mean, I think that that's a great credit to him. I mean, he gets every most difficult assignment. He scores twice in the post, and you change matchups and try somebody else, and then he scores again, and you change it again, and there's a reason there's certain guys that are at an elite level, right? And I think that, you know, we've got a lot of young guys that aspire to be really good players, and a big part of that is being a very good player every night.
The Celtics fall, and the winning streak is over. They fall 102-91 to the Indiana Pacers. This is the Garden Report on CLNS Radio and Celtics Blog. Welcome to the show. I am Jared Weiss from CLNS Radio. I'm joined by Sam Packard from WEEI. You're probably pretty familiar with this face at this point. And no more mutton chops from last week, so we're improving the beard situation there. The Celtics are not improving their three-point shooting situation. They lose by 11 tonight. They shot 4 for 24 from downtown. We'll get to that, but first we got to talk about Paul George. Paul George is a very good basketball player who I think just like with the Derrick Rose injury a few years back, when everyone that's an NBA fan saw that injury that happened to him where he snapped his leg in half, all of us it was kind of like a day of mourning. And he came back less than a year later, looked a little bit rusty. This season, he is back to Paul George. He is one of the, as Steven said, he's one of the best players in the NBA. It's definitely true.
Absolutely. We saw glimpses of what he could do last year. He wasn't all the way there. He's back. He's probably a top 10 player in the league, and he showed it tonight. No matter who the Celtics threw at him, he was making shots, and it was especially big at the Celtics went on an 11-2 run to open up the third quarter. Yep. Vogel called a timeout, and Paul George came back and basically led an entire run, knocking down 2 threes and just tied the game. And there's really nothing the Celtics could do. He was making difficult shots, and the Celtics couldn't make any of their shots. You
know, I'll give the Celtics credit for one thing. They did a good job in not letting him attack the rim. Most of his points tonight were coming from like fadeaway 20-footers, pull-up threes, stuff like that. Jay Crowder was tough on him, but Jay Crowder had 5 fouls in this game. I know one of them came on a reach-in on a weak side drive. Other came with an offensive foul that frankly didn't make a lot of sense from my angle at least. I'm going to throw in a bow though. But with Crowder in foul trouble, you had guys like Evan Turner covering Paul George, who frankly did a pretty decent job on him, actually. I mean, he was able to stay in front of him, but there's, you know, Paul George at 10, is that what he is now? I mean, he's pretty huge for a small forward. You put anyone under 6'10" on him, and he's going to be able to shoot over them pretty easily.
But the thing is, they were switching, with the type of defense they were playing, they were switching a lot of pick and rolls, so there's, Rozier had time on him.
Yep.
Just a lot of, any guard, Smart had time on him, and there's nothing they could do. And another player who hurt them again, which is bizarre to me, Jordan Hill. Beat them in Indiana and wipe the floor with them here, and just, if Jordan Hill's gonna beat you, then there's really nothing you can do. And I was thinking as the game was going on, the Celtics might get back into it. Yep. They're just letting Jordan Hill do things. Eventually they're gonna get back into it, and it just never happened. So I don't know what more the Celtics could do on the defensive end. And on the offensive end, it's about making shots, and they just didn't do that tonight.
Yeah, the funny thing was, I was tweeting in the first half that Jordan Hill looks like he's already retired. He was like watching balls bounce on the ground in front of him, wasn't diving for them while Marcus Smart is diving around him. The only thing he was trying on was really defensive rebounding. And then I don't know what Vogel said to him at halftime, but he came out guns blazing in the second half. He had one unbelievable low post move. I think Lee must have been guarding him on this one, where he kind of like double jab faked and then spun over the middle, hit a nice little kind of floating jump hook. And that's the kind of stuff that he flashed. That people were comparing him to Chris Bosh when he came into the league out of Arizona. Obviously not that player, but yeah. You see flashes of it. But the fact that he was able to get going was kind of a real twisting the knife moment for the Celtics. And C.J. Miles also had a big night tonight. He had, 17, and most of them are coming pretty early in the game.
He had 11 in the first quarter, yeah. And another reason why Hill was important, in the second quarter we saw a little bit of Hakamahimi.
I know, right?
Which I was surprised with. Hackayan, and it worked. He was didn't really make any of his free throws, and it wasn't a strategy I thought was going to happen coming into the game. But he didn't play as many minutes in the second half because Jordan Hill was that big for Indiana that was getting them that low post scoring. So the Celtics just didn't have it tonight on either end of the floor.
It wasn't pretty. I think the Celtics are a little bit at a loss for words after tonight's game. they're kind of at the point where, obviously pointing to the fact that they can't hit a three at least consistent. They can't go like 2 games in a row actually hitting their threes reliably. That's obviously killing them. But one interesting thing was Jared Sullinger, who had 11 rebounds tonight, had a really crucial rebound in the fourth quarter where he threw off, I think, was Lavoy Allen, boxed him out, grabbed the loose ball rebound, tossed it to Amir Johnson, who got the bucket. He was the one that actually called the team out for their rebounding problems. They're going up against a pretty, not a team that doesn't really have any dominant rebounders. I mean, Paul George had 10 tonight. He's their power forward. Jan Mahimi only had 2 rebounds, and then Jordan Hill at 8. But they're not exactly a good rebounding team. But Sullinger felt that they really failed themselves rebounding tonight.
And it wasn't something I noticed during the game, but when he said it, I kind of thought back and looking at this box score now. Other than Sullinger, there's no one really with any. David Lee was the next highest with 6 rebounds. No one else really did anything, and that's going to be a problem for the team all season because Jared Sullinger is their best rebounder. I was actually kind of surprised. You think Amir Johnson's going to play that role, but he only had, 13 minutes tonight. So it's just the kind of the continuous problems is a kind of a classic Celtics loss.
All right, well, before we come back for part 2, we're going to hear about the new show on CLNS Radio with Celtics Beat Unplugged from Harris Rubenstein. We'll be right back on the Garden Report on CLNS Radio and Celtics Blog, powered by Grandstand.
Hello, everyone. My name is Harris Rubenstein, and if there's one thing that I've learned while I've been at school is that the internet has completely changed the sports media industry. Any schmuck with a camera and a script can make their own podcast, but what they don't have is that dedication and passion that you fans deserve. One person that I know with that dedication is Larry H. Russell, or as you Celtics Beat podcasters know him as, LHR. We're proud to announce that him and I are starting a brand new show, so when you combine a sports-crazed college broadcaster and a Celtics aficionado, well, things just might get a little unfiltered.